Yeah, I think that's all of the logos for each county in the state of Michigan.
Oh.
I have not looked at it that closely. But I should be really helpful with it.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Huh.
It's 83 counties in the state.
Yeah. Oh.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm gonna put this here so that it's easier for me to hear everyone. These microphones should be that. Is this definitely muffled? I think just because like there's a little partition right there. No, it looks into these microphones. It does? Yeah.
Okay, show me.
You plug it in, right?
Show me the way. No, I didn't know that was a thing.
Show me the way. It's another day.
Oh, my Lord. Right here?
Yeah. So not
It's a dangerous weapon.
It is.
It can be used for good, or it can be used for bad.
Sometimes I used to get to myself.
People like to, but there's always the good that it entails.
Absolutely.
Especially the judge. I do not know. Kim, I don't believe it here.
This building's over 100 years old. It cost a small fortune. People like to shut down. When they built it, there's a lot of dissension because it's like, we don't need a building that big. We don't need a building that elite.
Now we're trying to expand even more.
I mean, it's like you got an annex across the road almost because of everything. And today you could never afford to build a building like this.
It's crazy that they used to have everything in this building. I mean, my office used to be,
Downstairs.
well, my office used to be downstairs, but my current office was recorded.
Yeah, yeah.
My office is the home of the
So you're spoiled? Holy Moses
So
Mary.
you can down a road.
Good morning. Good morning.
ma'am.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I had to go get a pad of paper because I did not grab one, so sorry about that. Ooh. Oh, that's so quiet. So, together. Alright, give me a second here to unpack. Some of these are so small. Huh?
Yeah, when it goes from legal to.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so now I spent like 20 minutes trying to blow them up. So I'm gonna just do my best. So I see we have our camp out here. Do we have Ms. DeShano? Yes. She's here. Okay, great. Okay, why don't you go ahead and we can start. So, you're good? Go? Okay, usually I have the go ahead. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you. This meeting of the Election Commission is called pursuant to the Michigan statute found in MCL 168-952, which governs the elections in the state of Michigan. Today, I believe it's March 25th? 26th, okay, 2006, almost April, and, yeah, 2026, well, I said, good Lord, let me start over. Today is March 26th, I have not had my coffee, of 2026, and the time is approximately 8:05. We're meeting in the Commissioners' Chambers today at the Bay County Building, and this meeting is following the Open Meetings Act. The meeting is being recorded, and it was posted. Just a friendly reminder, and I think I have to do my friendly reminder too, is to make sure if you can shut off your cell phones or at least turn them on to vibrate. The members of our Bay County Election Commissions as defined by statute, which is located at 168.23, are as follows. We have the County Clerk, Kathleen Zanotti, and she serves as the Secretary of the Commission. County Treasurer, Weston Prince, he also serves as a member. And I am Jan Miner. I am the Probate and Family Court Judge, and I serve as the Chair of the Commission. So as defined by statute, the purpose of today's hearing is to determine whether each reason for the recall stated in the petition is factual and of sufficient clarity to enable the officer whose recall is sought and the electors to identify the course of conduct that is the basis for the recall. The Recall Commission does not determine the truth of any of the allegations. Allegations of fact may be true or false, and the Commission does not have the structure or the resources, or frankly the procedural authority to investigate, to swear in witnesses, or to subpoena to determine if the allegations are true or not. However, the language should at least be grounded in reality to the extent that it has the potential to be true. The Recall Commission will consider only whether the assertions in the petition are stated clearly and factually. Any allegation of fact may be true or false, and the test employed by this Commission will be to find out whether the allegations stated as facts are clear, so that the responding official may defend. Please note, if any reason for the recall is not factual or of sufficient clarity, the entire recall petition shall be rejected. In addition, each reason for the recall shall be based upon the officer's conduct during his or her current term in office. Matters of opinion aren't factual. If the Commission approves the recall language, a copy of the approved language will be forwarded to the filing official, who will later receive the signed recall petition sheets. We will make our determination at the end of this meeting by vote. Our ruling on the clarity and factual nature of the recall language may be appealed by the officer whose recall is sought, or by the sponsor of the recall petition to the circuit court in this county. And it must be filed within 10 days after our determination, which will be 10 days from today. As previously stated, these proceedings are being recorded. Therefore, I ask that everyone treat each other with respect and courtesy. So no huffing and puffing, no jumping in. Everybody has to speak with clarity and with courtesy. If there are any unnecessary comments while someone is speaking, it could result in a distorted record. If an orderly meeting cannot be maintained, I reserve the right to adjourn the hearing to the court facility. Again, please silence your cell phones. So here's what the procedure will be. The procedure we will follow is to first hear from the sponsor of the petition, and then we will hear from the officer. The sponsor of the petition will have about 10 minutes, and the officer will have 10 minutes. I will then open the meeting to public comments, including comments from the commissioner, if they so desire. Commissioners, our election commissioners, if they so desire. If you wish to speak on the clarity and factual nature of the petition, you may, and we ask that you limit the others to at least 3 minutes. I'm going to ask you to please identify yourself and your address before speaking, and just tell us if we need your spelling of your name. Okay, so I see Mr. Campbell is here, so why don't I go ahead and I'll start with Mr. Campbell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the petition, so just give me a quick second. Because the longer that I approach my age, okay. All right, so this recall petition for Mr. Charles Campbell is in the township of Cacolin, Bay County, and it says that they are calling for an election to recall Charles Campbell from the office of Township Trustee. On December 22nd of 2025, Trustee Charles Campbell voted to approve the Collin Township Board meeting minutes stating that the resignation of Clerk Kathleen, okay, is it Kayla? I'm sorry, Kayla Schlanderer, okay, there we go, was accepted. No roll call vote or all in favor vote occurred on December 8th of 2025, and Clerk Schindler submitted her resignation on December 8th of 2025 and rescinded it on December 18th of 2025. Approval of these minutes recorded the resignation as accepted and resulted in the clerk losing her position. Okay. And that was submitted by Kim Rausch. Is that correct? R-O-U-E-C-H. Is Kim Rausch present? Okay. Member Campbell, do you wish to speak?
I was wondering if I could actually play a recording. It's approximately 10 minutes, but it's actual verbatim, the recording that minutes were made from.
Okay. Why don't you first just state your name and your address?
Yes. Charles Campbell, 525 South Huron Road, Kaufman Township, Linwood, Michigan, 48634.
Yes, if you would like to play that, go right ahead.
Resignation, the clerk, we read Kayla Schlander's resignation to all board members and Coquitlam Township residents. Effective immediately, I'm resigning from my position as clerk of Coquitlam, County of Bay, Michigan. I also immediately resign from my position on Planning Commission. This decision comes after ongoing and unacceptable conditions within the workplace that have made it impossible for me to continue. The lack of professionalism, respect, and support from board members has created an environment that I can no longer tolerate or be a part of. I will go as far to say that I believe I have been subjugated to sabotage after I was appointed to the Planning Commission. The only reason I lasted as long was because of the support I received from the supervisor, my deputy, and front desk. I will not remain for any transition or handover period. My employment with the municipality ends as the delivery of this letter. Serving the residents of Coquitlam has been a privilege, but internal work environment has left me with no other choice but to step away immediately. I ask the board to accept my resignation on this day, December 8th, 2025. Sincerely, Kayla Schnander.
I make a motion to accept the resignation without actually accepting the wording of the letter that's drawn. I think
Second motion, accepting the resignation.
yes.
Talking with Katie Zanatti last week, I had told her I had a feeling something was happening. So I told her I had received the resignation, but she hasn't shown up for work for days. So she says she's at home, don't feel good. So I went there and asked her, protocol is that we have an election coming up. I don't want the township to be in a bad predicament. What do we do here? So there's a lot of different issues, including payroll and other things that are happening within the township now. She did make a statement that concerned me, and that was that Charlie was in a few months ago and asked what happens if the clerk resigns. Well, it ends up being at about the same time, she says a few months, that she was put on the Planning Commission. is heartbreaking because I'm going to tell you what, if there was anything wrong with Kayla Schlander, she'd be there already.
All right, so let me just jump in, because I had a conversation with Kayla when you decided to acquire the planning commission, and I talked to her, and I said, Kayla, this really is not a good idea. You need to learn your job before you try to learn zoning, before you try to learn all this other part. You need to learn your job first. I understand you want to branch out, but you need to get good at what you do first. And so I checked, because, you know, word was going around, apparently, that she was going to resign before we were demoted by. Kind of interesting. So I actually checked to see how much she had actually been doing in the system. And I just found it to be kind of interesting. So the clerk's office is responsible for accounts payable, responsible for payroll, and has some things to do in the general ledger. Those are 3 different applications that we have. My part in those, a little bit more general ledger, but my part of those has to do with reconciling each month. I can clear up everything in the payroll check, every AP check, so on and so forth, and do some general ledger postings, journal postings. So I actually looked, 4/15, I believe, was when she was actually appointed in, and she had Greg in there, and we were told that with all the years of experience that Greg had, they've been great at training her and getting everything just working fantastically. So in the time from 4/15 to 12/3, there were a total of 527 records created in the general ledger system. I actually went down and saw how many were hers. Out of 527, 34 were hers. That is just over 6% of the work that was happening in the general ledger. Payroll from 4/15 to 12/1/25, there was 1,528 records during that time. Of those, she was responsible for 37 out of 4,528. Just over 2% of the activity happening in payroll. In accounts payable, 4/15/25 to 12/8/25, there was 1,895 records created. Of those, Kayla's name was on 73 of them, which is almost 4% of the work that was completed in 8 months. So, had she actually been taking the time to do her job and to learn her job, she probably wouldn't have been so stressed out. Instead of having Greg do it and then not being able to fix the errors that were made, which were brought up many, many times, dating all the way back to when she started, that still haven't been fixed.
So, Mr. Shano, with you stating that, it brings something up your niece who worked for the township and was your deputy treasurer. You told me how you just stacked them up and let her do them at night. What do you think the percentage would be if you were to look in the mirror?
Well, I'll tell you, I take payments all day. I also do all the reconciliations. I always have. Thank you. I do all the reconciliations. You don't even know what happens in my office. You're too busy doing all your scheme and invoices.
It's a scheme. Scheme is taken. I never had that out for our township. You guys were on there. When you say where and every one of these freaking meetings, it's got to stop.
In regarding Kayla, it's kind of null and void to bring up whatever percentage is on because she's done. Well, doesn't make sense for you guys to bicker back and forth about it.
Because it null and void to bring up the emotional attachment and how it didn't work out so sad too.
Hey, that's it. I don't know.
Well, you got both sides of the equation.
Yeah, but
Take it.
When you look at Greg and Sherry, how much work did Greg do? He was the treasurer, the clerk for how long? And he was doing Sherry. How much work? I know.
my house was back when this didn't happen. We didn't have it. So I'm just going to say that. I wish we get back to that. And that starts here, that you rise above each other's silliness, right? And you are professional. But I never opened my mouth because that was another boy. You didn't
So-
do that's
So, we accepted the clerk's resignation.
Yes, but I want to make a comment. When I went over to our county clerk's office, I went there because the comment was made, special assessment, millage, $15,000 for a special election. The township paid $10,000 when they had an election, and Katie said, you can have it done for $5,000 at most, because you only have one precinct. They had 3. So we spent $5,000 to get this put together, get the village. We wouldn't have a conversation about all this money to lawyers. People could have voted, but the fear was it might not get well received. So that's where the conversations started with Mrs. Zanati. Just a little clarity, so I was clarity there.
We accepted her resignation and promotion for payroll, and I could be wrong, for legal, that we put, and we gotta look into it, but you and her on check signing, if we can legally do it. Well, I did, Googled it and ChatGPT'd it and grinded it, and they all did come to in a special assessment for a short term. It's a temporary for a short term of something like this. It states that we can, but I just want to ask our legal, so I'd like to make a motion to ask our legal if we can put you and Laurie on payroll until they get a permit.
I think we have more than that because we have stacks of FOIAs that are crazy. I'm not going to be voice on that.
We're going to have to 24 hire someone, but right now it's Christmas. We usually get bonus.
Okay, and was that the December 8th of 2025 meeting?
Yes. And here are the documents in question.
Okay.
There's only one problem. The rescinding letter, that is her writing, that is the rescinding date.
Okay.
It is 10/17. Resignation wasn't turned in until December 8th. And that was brought up in the meeting publicly, because I said, how is it that the date, I said, well, she made a mistake. You know what? She was going to resign prior to that, and I had talked to her about not resigning.
And 12/8, was 12/8 your meeting?
The original meeting,
Yes. Is that what's recorded right there on your phone, was 12/8?
yes, that's the
Okay.
12/8 meeting.
And that's when this was,
This was all presented to us at meeting.
At
We
meeting.
did not receive anything prior to ask any questions about anything. The first thing I said is, how do you rescind something before you turn something in?
I'm sorry, so you received both of these at the same time?
Yes, ma'am.
No, 2 different days. Okay, sorry.
Oh, 17, apology.
Okay. Okay, I guess I'm confused. So you received the 12/8 resignation at the 12/8 meeting, correct? Yes, yes, out loud, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when did you receive the I rescind my resignation letter? Do you
What
remember?
is that date on top of there?
10/17
So we would have got that at our second meeting of the month.
in December?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I see, on the 18th, you have 2 meetings a month? Because it says
The
something
meeting
about...
was on Thursday night,
Okay.
the 17th.
17th of December was Wednesday.
That is... Okay. Wait, I'm not sure when you got the resignation letter, or the rescission letter. There we go. So are you saying she rescinded?
That's what the paperwork actually said,
I know that, but when did you receive the rescinding letter?
the second meeting of the month.
In December? What? Okay.
I don't want to be
All
out
right,
there.
okay. So anyway, so Mr. Campbell, go ahead in regards to the rest of it. So they're saying that there was no up and down or roll call vote?
I don't call for a roll call vote, but when it was said, do we accept that resignation, you all heard crystal clear it was.
Yes. Okay. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Campbell, Robert Campbell? Oh, that's, well, I was just going to ask if you have any questions on it. No, all right, thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to this? Your name, please? Laurie Campbell.
So just to clarify, what actually happened was the resignation was presented to us at the meeting on 12/8. whatsoever that we were going to get that, even though clearly it was known, but we were never informed as a board in advance. After the supervisor said, so we accept her resignation, as Reverend Campbell said, you can clearly hear yes, it wasn't within our hands, and then there was actually an affirmation from a different board member saying, so we accepted her resignation. After that, all of the votes were unanimous, so we had created the vacancy by accepting the resignation. The next motion was how we were going to continue to do business legally while we had an opening, and then we also voted to post it on our website and on our Facebook page to accept resumes. That was done. Resumes came in. They came to myself and the supervisor exclusively. There was even some conversation about those resumes coming in. So everything had already started in motion based upon the movement of the board that we had accepted it. It wasn't until the meeting on December 17th that again we were given this letter to rescind, which is dated October 17th. Again, nobody knew ahead of time. Nobody knew anything about it. There was communication with our municipal attorneys, but it was sent to all board members just before the meeting. So,
Okay, let me just say, so the letter that's dated October 17th, 25, when did you receive this?
December 17th.
Okay, so what happened on December 18th?
Nothing.
Because it said and rescinded it on December 18th. Is that what it says in here?
It does.
Is that right?
It does.
And the clerk submitted her resignation on the 8th and rescinded it on December 18th of 2025. Correct. Okay. So you physically received this letter on December 17th at that meeting. Correct. Okay. Okay. All right.
So
Was the clerk was Ms. Schalander there at the meeting?
She was not.
Okay. How'd you get the letter?
It was provided by the supervisor.
Another person. Okay.
Yes.
Or someone.
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right. Okay. So then what happened next?
So at that point, we moved forward. There was communication with the municipal attorneys after that meeting, once the rest of the board members were obviously made aware of what was happening and that the attorneys had contacted us. A conversation took place between myself and Trustee Whalen with our attorneys. That took place over the phone directly after the meeting. We had already had authorization from the board to be in contact with the attorneys, myself and Trustee Whalen, per our resolution for this situation, because we had had to have a conversation about how we would do payroll and all that kind of stuff. So when this unexpected turn occurred, we did talk with them. They had sent a subsequent email to the entirety of the board. And I did talk with the attorney regarding that. The board has not waived privilege, so I wanted to make sure that I was within grounds as far as referencing that.
Okay, thank you. I have a hand in the back. Yeah, come on up. Hi. Oh, there you go. There you go. All right, what is your name, please?
Lisa Urick,
Okay, Lisa, can you spell your last name for me?
E-U-R-I-C-H.
All right, Ms. Urick, and where do you live?
Coffin Township.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
So on the December 8th meeting, they did start they had motioned, Mr. Shano had motioned, Mr. Whalen had seconded it, and then Mr. Eddy had asked for discussion. So they started discussing it, but it never came back to a vote. They moved on to something else. So on December 18th, yes, Ms. Schlander did come in. I was sitting in the board meeting. I usually arrive there about half an hour beforehand. She had come in. I heard her talking with Mr. Eddy about the resignation, and he said, oh, this isn't dated. So that's why the date on there is handwritten. She was extremely sick, which is why she didn't stay.
Okay.
And that's probably why she made the mistake of putting 10/17 instead of 12/17. During that meeting,
Which meeting?
The 17th.
Okay,
December
so
17th.
she didn't come in on the 18th. She came in on the, you just said she
Yes.
came in on the 18th.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 17th, whatever date is on the letter, that's the 17th.
Okay,
correct?
all right.
So the 17th, she had been there. And so during the meeting, Ms. DeShano brought up the fact that it was dated for October. During the meeting, he actually called Kayla and said, did you turn this in today? She said, yes. He said, well, the date says 10/17. She says, oh, I'm really sick. I must have put the wrong date on it.
Okay, so we call that a scrivener's error. Yeah. Okay.
So then the meeting kind of went on. So on the 22nd, which is when the next board meeting was,
December 22nd of
December
2025.
22nd of 2025 is when the second board meeting of the month was. I had come in that morning to see what the minutes had said. And the minutes that the secretary had taken of that meeting said roll call vote, and it was blank, which means they didn't take a roll call vote. But all of a sudden, the minutes for that meeting that evening said all in favor, yes.
Okay.
So even on Reverend Campbell's, even though they said, you know, we all voted, did you hear everybody vote, or did you hear them say roll call vote or all in favor vote? It's not in his recording.
Okay. And Ms. York, what do you do for the township?
I'm just a resident, but I come to every meeting and I video record them and post them onto YouTube so that people that don't come to the meetings are able to see what's going on in the township.
Okay, so why were you there? You were there in the morning when this...
I came in specifically in the morning because there was a couple documents I wanted to see. And one of them was the minutes, the draft minutes, which
Okay.
had been changed from whatever it was that morning to whatever was approved that evening.
Okay.
Also, Mr. Sheena was nice enough to call the police on me, and the police came out because obviously I was trespassing.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you. And so you do not, is it your position, you do not believe that this Schelander had resigned?
she did on the 8th,
Okay.
and as per what Mr. Eddie
But
had,
then she changed her mind?
then she changed her mind
Okay.
and rescinded it because the resignation hadn't been accepted because it wasn't fully voted on the 8th.
Okay.
So she turned in a rescission letter. They did not accept it because of the handwritten date was incorrect.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes, sir, come on up. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, Trustee Wheeler.
W-H-A-L-E-N.
W-H-A-L-E-N.
L-E-N.
All right,
The
thank you, sir.
911 State Road Column Machine.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
Couple things. The language in this position, this meeting was implied falsification of records. On December 8th, the board reached a clear consensus to move forward with the clerk's resignation. The vote on December 22nd was a mandatory administrative duty to finalize the public record and to ensure the township remained operational. To suggest this vote resulted in the clerk losing her position and ignores the fact that she had already resigned 10 days prior. This petition is intended to litigate personal dispute through the recall process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I didn't ask Mr. Wayland or Mr. Okay. All right, thank you so very much for all of you being here as part of this process. I think very much. Thank you. Let me turn it over to Ms. Sanati. Do you have any comments? Sure.
Judge Meyer did mention at the beginning of this hearing that we don't determine whether these allegations are true. We just are determining whether this language in front of us is factual and clear. If you're standing in front of a resident asking them to sign this recall petition, do they understand what you were trying to say? I believe Trustee Whalen just said that, he feels that you are using the recall process to litigate a personal dispute. That may be true or it might be false, but as I understand how the recall process is written, someone is allowed to do that. Earlier before this hearing started, the question was also asked, You know, how many times can someone submit a recall petition while someone's in office? There's not a limit. You just, for a 4-year term, you can't do it within someone's first year or last year of office. So we could be here for 100 times this next year. Yeah. So, you know, the recall process is fairly vague. It doesn't say it has to be a good reason. It doesn't say it has to be a bad reason. But it's really intended for us to just approve this language so it can be circulated to the voters. It's up to the voters to determine whether it's a good reason or a bad reason. And I just also want to take time, you know, this election commission, since I've been in office, we've had quite a few recalls. I have never had a recall process go forward where signatures are submitted to my office and we trigger a recall election. It has not happened since I've been county clerk. So if we approve this language, you know, both the officer petitioner, whether it's approved or denied, have a chance to appeal it to the circuit court. The circuit court has another, I believe, 40 days to approve or deny that language. Then the petitioners have 180 days to collect signatures. But we don't just schedule elections whenever we want in Michigan. There are certain election dates. So a recall election can only be the May election date or the November election date. If it is someone's intention to have this language approved, collect all their, let me see, based off the last governor's election, it would be 583 required valid signatures to trigger an election. They need to have those signatures turned in. I just looked it up. I might be wrong, but give or take a few days, 95 days before the next election date. So if your intention is to get these officers on the November 2026 election date, you have to have gone through the appeal process, elapsed those timelines, and then have all 586, I think I just said, signatures by July 31st. And then in that case, it triggers an election for these officers to be on the ballot. But they're partisan offices, so they are the Republican candidate. The local Democratic Party nominates someone to be the Democratic nominee. So I hope that the people who are initiating this process have thought, you know, I want Charlie Campbell in this situation, Laurie in another situation we're seeing, out of office. You know, if someone is truly a bad officer, there should be a process in place to remove that person from office. This is it. But who's the candidate that's going to run against them? You know, we need to consider how this whole thing works. And then if you don't make the July 31st deadline, then we're not going to have an election until May 2027. And that will be at the township's expense. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands how this process works. It is complex, it's long. This is just the first step of it. We're not determining whether someone is good or bad, you know, whether they should be in office or shouldn't. We are just looking at the words, the language. So that's my piece, kind of wanted to go through the process.
That's good, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. What Nani just mentioned. My personal feelings regarding this don't really matter one way or the other. We are focused solely on the language on the petition. You know, I understand it appears potentially that the dates are incorrect between the 17th and the 18th. In our narrow scope of what we do, which is viewing the language and the language alone, that is permissible. That would be something that you would take to the voters if they do receive the valid signatures to go say, look, this is, you're approaching this in a way that is in better, we believe it is not truthful, right? So that would be a feather in your cap, I guess, for going to the voters. So again, we are focused on language and language alone in terms of is it factual in nature and is it clear? So that's my piece of your
Thanks. I don't have any comments. So I'm ready for a vote. Ms. Sinani?
I'm going to approve it.
Mr. Prince?
So I'm not going to approve it just because I believe it is factual in nature. I question some of the clarity on it, specifically no roll call vote or all in favor vote occurred on December 8th. Is that regarding the entire meeting there was no roll call vote? Is it specific specific to this resignation letter. So for that reason, I'm voting no on the Laurie aspect.
Thank you. I too am voting no for that reason also, and because while we talk about facts or not facts, some facts can be, true or false. The court believes that the court. Sorry, that's my other job. I, as the election commission person, there we go, trying to figure out my hat here today, believe that we have heard from even Ms. Urick, who stated that we have clear statements by 4 people that were here, both kind of pro and con, if you will, that this didn't happen on December 18th. So I find that fact is not clear and can be misleading, so I kind of disagree with their reasoning. So I am voting no. So I'm going to deny the petition. Okay. So I'm not going to for Ms. DeShano because I think that this looks like it's all tied together. But I will in fact read the roll call petition, or excuse me, the recall petition. That this is for the township of Tacoma in the county of Bay. That they are calling for an election to recall Laurie DeShano from the office of treasurer, I believe. Is that correct? Yes, the office of treasurer. On December 8th of 2025, Clerk Michaela Schlemmer submitted her resignation and rescinded it on December 18th of 2025. Treasurer Laurie A. DeShano changed draft minutes of the December 8th, 2025 Township Board meeting prepared by the Township Secretary. The minutes approved December 22nd of 2025 stated that the resignation was accepted by Ann, quote, all in favor, end quote, quote. And this was submitted by, I think this is Jeremy Bloom. Is that correct or no? Oh, Victor Ward. Oh, sorry, Victor Ward. Oh, Jeremy's for the next one. Okay. Is Mr. Ward here? No. Okay. All right. Mr. DeShano? Go ahead.
I don't know how far we go with this that line is pretty much the same. So,
Okay.
Same basic idea.
I know, I think Ms. because this is all kind of blended together, alluded to a December 22nd meeting, which is probably subject to what's in here. So, and whether or not something was the change or the vote. So if you can address that, that'd be great. Okay, go ahead.
So on the, I think it was around lunchtime on the 17th, I had requested for the then secretary, which is Jane Burns, Victor Ward's wife, to send me the minutes that she had started for the December 8th meeting. Now, this is prior to any communication about anything being rescinded. This is prior to any communication with the attorneys. I asked her for it because Ms. Schlander had not shown up for work for quite some time. We have to post the minutes. At that point, I was the only person with access to post them on our website. Nobody else in the building had access because she was the one that typically did that, but I had access as well.
And this was on December
17th,
Okay.
yes, around noon.
Okay. Had she come, do you know if she had come in at that time with this letter and song that
She had not.
She had not.
No, she came in at about 4:15 on December 17th, right after most everybody had left because we closed at 4.
Okay.
So I requested the minutes. I reviewed what she had done, which was the first time I had even seen the draft minutes. And I noticed that there were errors in what she had listed, specifically on point 8, and I have copies of what she had done as well as the minutes that ended up being posted as draft and approved. So at that point, nothing had been posted as a draft. No elected officials had even looked at the minutes that the secretary had written at that point. They hadn't been provided. So when I looked at it on new business point 8, there was an appointment to the planning commission made by the supervisor. The board did not approve that appointment. The notes that the secretary had compiled indicated that that motion had passed. It did not. So I had received a PDF from J.D. Burns, and I sent her an email back after I looked at it and said, I need you to send me the Word document because there's some corrections that need to be made to this draft before it's posted. And she did send me the Word document. At that point, I started frankly cleaning it up. I mean, there were typos in it as well as things being represented incorrectly. After the attempted rescind at the meeting later that night, we, as I mentioned before, we then found out that the attorney had been contacted, that he had contacted the board. What the attorney had advised us to do, obviously, we were not aware of when we sat in that meeting because we hadn't got the email. It seriously came in less than 30 minutes before our meeting. I mean, we didn't know it was a meeting. So after talking with them later, I'll be careful here because of privilege. I followed the advice of our municipal attorneys who said, I'm sorry, I want to be really careful with privilege, that it had been reviewed and said that the minutes are how the board speaks. Can I just say I followed the advice of counsel? I think I followed the advice of counsel when it came to completing that draft, and then I posted it on the website again as the only one who could.
And that is the draft minutes from the December 8th minute?
Yes.
8th meeting, okay.
I did use the transcript provided to, which, you know, not the cleanest when you do a transcript from a recording, but you can actually see within that transcript, one, you can see that the appointment to the planning commission was not approved, where the draft minutes that she had provided to me upon request, but had already provided a physical copy of to Ms. Urick when she came in that morning without any elected officials having to review the draft, without anybody even knowing. Ms. Urick came in and said she wanted them, and the then secretary provided them so that Ms. Urick could post them on social media. Those had never been reviewed. They had not been put on the website, and obviously there were material errors of fact right in that draft that needed to be corrected prior to them being posted publicly. So I do have copies of all that if you would like. I do have some information as far as the transcript, which clearly indicates as you guys heard, right? So the accepting her resignation, the audible yes, and then the assertion of she accepted it. And that is what that transcript was based upon, that even though it wasn't actually called an all in favor, that is the responsibility of the moderator, but when the question was asked, that board members did.
Does anyone else see the
I do have a question though, so, yeah.
Trustee Wheeler made a point of order and have the record reflect that Schweinlander is resigning and successful by the board. This is the final one, right?
Yes, because she came and sat at the board table at that meeting. Even though
Who's the she?
Schweinlander,
Oh, okay,
as if she was still a board member.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. So that top part is the page where it shows, I'm not actually on here right now, number 8, that shows in that draft that the motion fails, right, for the planning commission. So that is the change that was made. This is included, and then we have, well, I'm sorry, it's really easy.
I think it was from that stuff.
Thanks. And you can see on her copy here, it says on the way that passes. I do have to really much, I don't believe it's not all this in the transcript. It's not really fun to read.
So the draft minutes that are accused of being changed, the draft themselves were not passed by the board, correct?
No, they had never even been reviewed by the board for public posting.
Was the copy that was given to Ms. Urick same draft on it?
It does. So there's 2 copies that I've given you that say draft. The first one, and that's kind of one of the big indicators, is that planning commission appointment. The one that was done by the secretary
Uh-huh.
says that that passed. The one that I put in as a draft says that it failed, which is actually accurate.
I know, but
And that changes 13 is fine.
do you know the copy, and I guess I can ask Ms. Burek, that the copy that Mrs. Burns gave to Mrs. Burek, did it have the draft stamp on it? Okay, so it was a draft and it was not a finalized version
No.
that had gone before? Okay, all right.
Did you have, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Prince, did you have a couple other questions for Mr. Shino? Like you said you had something.
Just wanted to confirm that the draft minutes were not passed.
So you,
Draft minutes can change at any time.
and you can confirm the draft minutes were changed, but you're stating it, you know, planning commission vote, typical errors.
Yes.
And it does, this language does say, Laurie Deshano changed draft minutes of the December 8th township board meeting prepared by township secretary, period. And then it's really this last sentence, the minutes approved state the resignation is accepted by all.
All right, any questions? Any more questions for Mr. Shino? No, okay, thank you. Go ahead and see. Does anybody else want to address the commission? Okay.
One thing-
Go first. Mr. Campbell, okay, Reverend.
Charles, the only thing I would say is the clarity on the date, because I did check in my appointment book when my appointment here, it is the 17th.
Okay.
It is not the 18th.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Burek? Oh, yeah, there you go. Thanks, Ms. Burek.
I just want to clarify again that there was no roll call vote taken at the December 8th meeting.
Okay.
The supervisor didn't say all in favor, he didn't do a roll call vote asking, there was only the two votes, to accept, to motion to accept it, and then the second, and that's it. And that's what most of this hinges on. Coming to the December 22nd minutes saying that an all in favor vote was taken, there wasn't. I mean, even Reverend Campbell's, they moved right on, they did discussion, and they moved right on to another vote for something else, and never came back to the vote for fully accepting the clerk's resignation.
And this is probably way out of my lane, but let me ask you this, Ms. Burek. You were at that meeting, correct? Okay. Did the trustees who were there, did they accept her resignation by consensus? You were there, so you would know that, correct?
Well, there was no vote
It's
taken.
not what I asked you.
I don't know if they did.
Did they all say, we accept her resignation, and they all said yes,
No,
yes,
I
yes?
don't, no.
Because that's what I heard on the tape.
Okay, I guess I didn't hear that.
Okay, all right, I just wondered. I mean, that'll have to be for
Yeah.
everybody else to decide, but, okay. The difference between all in favor vote versus we're accepting her resignation by consensus, but not, I thought I heard somebody say, but we don't want to accept, like, kind of the language in it.
Right, Mr. Shano didn't like the wording in her.
Sure, yeah, okay. All right, thank you so much.
I will just say, this is the first time that in all the meetings that I've been to for the last 3-4 years, that a consensus vote was ever taken. It's always been all in favor or roll call. That's the only time that I've ever heard a consensus vote.
Okay, all right, thank you so very much. Oh, yes, come on up, I'm sorry. Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
Did the moderator, or the supervisor, who runs the meeting, call for all?
No.
Trustee Whalen?
Brian Whalen. And I'm Fraser. Again, I'm a trustee in Collin Township. I'm speaking to Big Sport Charles Campbell, Laurie Deshano. Because I've seen firsthand how recall efforts are being used as political weapon to sell personal vendettas. The petitions filed against them are mischaracterized the routine necessary work of township governance. They suggest finalizing a record or correcting a draft is a falsification. In reality, the act is a fiduciary responsibility. The heart of the issue of the resignation was submitted on December 8th. These board members did not remove anybody. The clerk removed herself through voluntary resignation of her own reasons. As a trustee, I know once the resignation is submitted and the board begins working on finding a successor, which happened here, the action is legally in motion. Allowing an official to rescind or unresign of a leadership that would leave our township in a state of legal gridlock. Laurie and Charles chose the path of stability over personal change of heart. The fact that these specific individuals are being targeted for what is a collaborative board consensus proves that it isn't about law, it's about personal agenda. The petitions claim no roll call occurred, but we know that the township governance consensus is action. When Laurie and Charlie voted to approve the minutes on December 22nd, they weren't changing history. They were ensuring official record matched operational truth of this township. We should be thanking these officials for their commitment to finality and order. They followed the law, kept the colony moving forward. I urge the community to see the recall efforts for what they are, a personal attack masked as procedural dispute. We deserve a board that focuses on business of the township and not pursuing personal grievances. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Everyone? All right, thank you. Any further, I feel like it's all one package here. Any further comments?
No.
Mr. Prince, any comments?
No, I guess one thing to say, well, it's not required, it does bother me that if you are going to put somebody forward for a recall, that you do not show up to stand on the That will not sway my vote one way or the other. I just want to state it for the record, is my opinion, if you're going to try and recall somebody, you should show up. So.
I would agree on that premise. All right, thank you. Ms. Lanani, vote. Mr. Prince?
So I want to take it line by line here. On December 8, 2025, Clerk Kayla Shalander submitted her resignation and rescinded it on December 18, 2025. While there are some questions regarding the dates, that first sentence is factual in nature. Treasurer Laurie A. DeShano changed draft minutes of December 8, 2025 Township Board meeting prepared by the Township Secretary. As we mentioned earlier, draft minutes can be changed. However, it is a factual statement. While I believe it is misleading to the public, it is a factual statement. The minutes approved December 22nd, 2025 state the resignation was accepted by an all in favor vote. Again, that is a factual statement. It does read clearly. While I have some issues with maybe some of the motivation behind this, we are focused on the very narrow scope when it comes to these hearings. Because of that, I have to vote in favor of.
Well, my vote won't make a difference because it's 2 to 1, but I would deny it for the same reason that we're from Campbell's. We have a blatant December date that's not accurate. While it is factual, I think that would make me a no at this time. So I would vote no, but we have 2 votes indicating that the recall petition can go forward. So, Ms. DeShano, as I indicated, and of course the person who is asking for the recall has not chosen to show here today. But please be advised, as I stated earlier in my comments, that you have 10 days from today's date if you wish to appeal this decision to the Circuit Court of Bay County. All right, thank you very much. Anything further? All right, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this process. I greatly appreciate it, and I would like to turn, I think these look like they are originals. They're not originals, they look like they're originals. I want to turn them back over to Mr. Campbell because he's going to give those. Yeah.